Good day, everyone. This is John Maria of Project Pod. I'm a special education teacher, life coach, study coach, or whatever you want to call me. I'm here to help out middle schoolers, high schoolers, and college students overcome their neurodevelopmental difficulties. So, upon suggestion of my wife, I'm doing this series online. Usually I just meet up my clients one-on-one. But to do this series online for the sake of my clients and anybody who might be able to use this information to help cope with what we call the new normal. Okay? Of course, when I'm referring to the new normal, I am talking about the situation that we are in right now amidst this COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I don't think I need to introduce the situation to you guys, but right here, where I am, here in Manila, Philippines, there is this conflict as to how schools or regular schools will be able to cope or what programs or systems that they would be using in order to deliver the education or the learning this coming school year. And I've heard a lot of input, and these have been interesting to think about, interesting to ponder about for the sake of people who have these neurodevelopmental difficulties like ADHD, dyslexia, and everything. But generally, I would place all of the solutions on a spectrum. So it comes from one extreme to the other. On one extreme, you basically have people saying that, we just ought to skip the school year. So whether that means mass promotion or that means that they will be delayed a year, it's a matter of, they say it's a matter of humanitarian reasons why we're doing this. And on the other hand, we're also saying that, hey, we have to make sure that we have to maintain the quality of the delivery system. So we're going to go completely online. We're going to go synchronous, which means that the students still go to school on a specific time, but they're online. They're wearing their uniforms and they're in front of a television in their class, and the teacher will be teaching online and things like that. So in this particular video, I'd like to sort of argue and give my points as to why I think the solution is somewhere in between. Okay? So when this first COVID-19 thing started, and I started meeting my students online, the metaphor that I used for them as I was coaching them, as I was talking through them, so I made them watch this video of Scott Kelly. Okay, he's an astronaut, and we'll link that video. It's just a very short video I showed below. But the basic gist of the video is that Scott Kelly is this engineer, astronaut who was sent to live in space for about a year. This was in 2015 to 2016. And the experience of being in space for a year, basically, when he got back, because there's no experience of gravity in space, so when you get back, he couldn't walk, okay? Because here on Earth, we need gravity to make sure that we're walking and we're doing things correctly. But when you go to space and the gravity disappears, right, for 1 year, when you get back, you can't walk. Now, this is besides the fact that there were exercise machines in the International Space Station where he stayed at. Okay? There were these exercise machines. And so despite that he was still working out with specialized equipment, he got back and he still experienced that. So that's basically where I'm at when it comes to dealing with our middle schoolers, high schoolers, and college students who have neurodevelopmental difficulties. You see, when you take the human body up in space for a year and it doesn't experience gravity, when you get back, no matter what, there will be a huge adjustment issue. Now, think about that for a minute for people who have neurodevelopmental concerns, like, for example, ADHD. What if I stopped working for a year? What if I stopped doing what I'm usually doing for a year? When I get back, there will be a huge adjustment issue for sure. We observe this adjustment issue even when we look at, let's say, summer vacation or Christmas vacation. There's this slight issue of adjusting back into this new routine. Now imagine you take that for a year, especially for individuals who have executive functioning issues, who have these issues of that issue of adjusting back. I don't think it's going to be healthy for their brains. So I use the metaphor of Scott Kelly because, interestingly enough, even though they know that when he gets back, he won't be able to walk for 6 months, they still had an exercise program with these specialized equipment up into the International Space Station. Now you might be asking, why do that in the first place if he's going to have adjustment issues anyway? Well, actually, the answer there is that it minimizes the adjustment going back. So applying this metaphor to the new normal that we have in school systems, going in, either extreme and everywhere in between, I actually am voting for the school systems that are going for those in between. And let me explain to you why. Because for those individuals, for those systems that really skip a year or will do mass promotion, right? When you get back, there will be this massive adjustment issue. Now, I don't want to judge, let's say, the public school system because the problem of resources is real, right? I don't want to talk about individuals who really cannot afford to go to school and things like that, and my heart goes out to them. I hope we can find a solution for them. But for the majority of individuals do have some sort of resources. Now, even though you lost your job or something like that, right? Okay. But if you do have some sort of resources, I don't think that going nil or zero when it comes to your academics for a whole year is a good idea because of adjustment issues, especially if you have or your child has a neurodevelopmental condition or a neurodevelopmental concern. Okay? The adjustment going back is just going to be very difficult. The impact on their brain is going to be difficult. On the other hand, I also don't like the idea of thinking that we could be as effective in our schools 100% or even 90%. I would even argue not even 80% in teaching the same material with the same effectiveness, with the same efficiency. I don't think that is going to happen. So I don't think schools should be targeting for that, for this idea that the student has to wake up at the same time, go to school, sit down in front of a screen from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. I don't think that's a good idea either. And I say that because it's really not the same. It's not the same as being in front of a teacher in a classroom. People who have ADHD, for instance, I have ADHD. I don't think I'd be able to pay attention within that context day in and day out. Okay? Just like in the astronaut metaphor I mentioned of Scott Kelly, there's just no way that whatever you do up in space is going to compensate for the reality of the gravity here back on Earth. But you do have to do the exercises to minimize the impact. And that's where I am in the middle. Now, what does that look like? Well, it looks like how homeschooling is applied. It looks like how Open University is applied. It looks like how online courses are applied. There are some differences there, right? But definitely, I don't like the idea that it's synchronous, meaning it's the same time. Synchronous teaching, this is basically the extreme here. What I like in the middle is asynchronous teaching. So there's the idea of uploading videos and students learning independently. Again, they're not going to learn as much, but it will be enough to minimize at least the impact when gravity sets in and everybody goes back to the classroom, probably around next year or next school year or something like that. Okay? So another thing here is that teachers can meet students one-on-one. I have been able to do that. Again, it's not as effective as meeting them in person, but meeting them one-on-one online has been helpful. It is doable. So maybe schools can do that. They can just upload videos for the general public, but for those who really need the help, they could just meet these students one-on-one. Okay? So yeah. So overall, that's just my position. I think that especially for people with neurodevelopmental conditions, I implore parents and those people themselves, if you're a teen or a young adult who's in middle school, high school, or college right now, think about the things that you have heard here and try to go for a school system or I try to advocate for something this year that's in the middle of these two extremes. Okay, so of course, there's a lot to talk about this topic. If you have some opinions, if you'd like to share some things, please comment here on this page. And if you'd like this information to be sent out to any school, please just share this information. And like the page, because I am going to do, this is a series, okay? So for people who are going to be in a homeschool environment in the foreseeable future, my next topic is going to be about task initiation and sustained attention in this new normal. So how do you make sure that even though you're at home where it's really difficult to begin tasks and to sustain the attention on these tasks, that you're able to cope, still being able to do the tasks that you need to, and things like that. So that's about it. Thank you for listening. Please share this with anybody who you think this would be useful to, and like and comment below. God bless you. Thank you very much.